Hey there, fam. Welcome back. Tisha here, back with another big love review. I'm so accustomed to saying sister wives that I always hesitate. But if you've been here long enough, you know I don't edit, so just take me as I am. Watching this episode, I found myself going through all types of emotions, even to the point where at one point I admitted, people, I cried. I cried because the actors understood the assignment and they did their job because they had me feeling the scene. Roman, Bill, and Albie made me nervous. A lot went down. The ceremony with Barb broke my heart while pissing me off at the same time, but we'll get into it. Go ahead, do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's talk. So we begin the episode with Bill and Joey discussing what their next course of action should be in terms of this seat, the UEB, and Roman. They meet their mom, tell their mom what the situation is, let the mother know that they got Ernest shares and that they will no longer sit by as Roman continues to run things, that they have a seat finally at the table. I can't believe that this family who had the original prophet, because the original prophet was Lois's father, how they aren't a part of stuff as important as the council. But I'm not surprised because let's be clear, Roman doesn't want Bill to have any part of that. So we find out that Joey is going to take the seat. And Lois is like, Joey? Why Joey? She's trying to get reinforcement. She's looking at Wanda, but Wanda's holding the baby and Wanda's turning her head like, I don't want any parts of it. You're not going to call my name in it because they decided what they decided. Joey's like, look, I'm a member of this family. It's time for me to clock in. I no longer want to be on the sidelines. So Lois is nervous, but she's excited, but she's nervous. So we see her as she goes off into the house and Bill is looking on. She doesn't know he's looking on, but he's looking on. And she prays. She says, Dear Heavenly Father, I haven't always been, the most steadfast. I haven't always been as humble as I might have been. But you love me in spite of, my feelings. And you have brought the boys back together again. Now we're cooking with gas. Watch over my boys, please. Thanks. And I laughed because she was coming from such a sincere place. Number one. Number two, we all have our different beliefs. And when I have certain conversations with who I believe in, which is God, there's certain times where I talk to him like he's my homie. So when I was listening to her speak, I said, yeah, I can see myself doing that same type of thing. Like, I've been this person. Well, nah, what have I, haven't I? So you can see that was the type of dynamic she was having in that moment. I would like to know, though, what exactly tore the brothers apart? Because she is excited that they're back together again. So what caused the rift? Was it whatever Joey was struggling with? Was it him going to the NFL, which we still haven't heard anything else about that backstory? But what is it that caused the problem? So elsewhere, we see Albie, and he's telling his father that Ernest and his wives have ran away. Roman at first is like, well, for all you know, maybe he got his hip replaced or something like that. They left because you would have found out something like that. Roman doesn't like what he's hearing. He says, not only that, Dad, but Bill is on the compound. Roman is like, why is he so relentless? Because he's not accustomed to somebody who's pushing back so much. Roman is the type of person who, when he says it, he wants it to be that. Much like Cody, how when Cody says something, he doesn't want any pushback. That's how Roman is. In no way am I saying that Cody is a prophet or like a prophet, but that's very much so what it's giving. Like, they can't be wrong. They can't take when somebody gives them a fight or rebuttals them. They just want you to do what they say and keep it moving. So he's asking why he's so relentless, and my thoughts are because of what he's done to his family. You may have something to do with the reason why his grandfather was murdered, or maybe because the money that you've taken from him, or maybe because you continue to be a burden to his family. They don't even have anything of their own. Yeah, he's going to be relentless. He's trying to help them. So he tells him, you know what, Albie, we're in a tough position here because we can't evict anybody because we came to that settlement agreement. I signed it. He signed it. So we can't do that. But you're going to have to do something else to contain him. As I said before, Albie is his enforcer. And unfortunately, it seems like Albie is willing to do anything in order to maintain favor and to please his papa. So Albie, we see, goes to Joey's house while Joey isn't there. Now, he knows Joey's not there because Joey's vehicle isn't there, right? But let me be clear. He doesn't call. He doesn't knock. He doesn't say, I'm going to be coming by, any of that stuff. Instead, what we see is we see Wanda, who is by herself at home with her newborn son, and she's putting away dishes as he's standing over her, watching her. He's in there and he starts talking like he belongs in there, like she welcomed him in. Why don't y'all keep your doors locked on the compound? Does the compound not have like locks? Are you all not allowed to lock your door? Because I don't understand how these people have free reign. And I hate that these men are able to go in and out the way that they please and intimidate these people over and over and over again. But it's what they do. So he does what he does best, which is intimidate this woman who just had a kid. And he's asking, where's Joey? Is Joey with Bill? He's been gone a lot lately and all those other things. And then he gets on his knees, leans by her son who's laying in the little bassinet, and he's making clicking noises as he goes to touch the baby, right? And he says, I can only ask so many times. Keep in mind, he doesn't say this when he's up beside her. He says it as he's hovering over her child and touching him. That is a very uncomfortable feeling, and he's doing this to intentionally make her uncomfortable. You're not sitting there cooing with the baby and doing that to make her be like, oh yeah, he likes my baby. No, you're purposely being threatening over my child, right? He's like, I can only ask so many times where he is. This is when Wanda's like, he'll be home soon. Why don't you stay? You can have a seat and wait. He says, is he with Bill? She's like, I think so. But Wanda has an idea where he's supposed to be because Wanda knows he's supposed to be going to the council meeting, right? He said, is he with Bill? Because both brothers should be careful because brothers can get brothers in trouble. It's this very much so roundabout way of him threatening her by saying that they don't like the fact that these brothers are spending time with each other or working with one another. So he tells her, I want you to call him. She's like, I don't have a phone, whatever. He's like, it's okay. I have one. He gives her the phone to call. So he's like, you need to let Joey know that he needs to come home. Once again, I'm going to intimidate you. But I like Wanda. Wanda and Lois are now two people from this show that I like. Y'all tell me who you like. So Wanda, Wanda really had me fooled. Anyways, Wanda is tired of Albie. And she's tired of his threats against her family. So she takes the phone and she acts like she's calling Joey, but she's not. She's faking on the phone like, yeah, he's here. He wants to see you. Yeah, you're on your way. Okay. She tells Albie, go ahead and sit down. I'm going to fix you a drink. She goes in, grabs a picture of what looks like pink lemonade, pours it in the cup. Next thing you know, right beside the fridge, the freezer, whatever, right beside this thing, she bends down and she picks up a bottle that is labeled antifreeze. And she pours and stirs and sits by him ever so gently. And, tells him to go ahead and enjoy, that drink. Go Wanda. Team Wanda. I like Wanda. So Joey ends up coming home to find a sleeping Albie. Wanda wasn't expecting him to come home. He says, "Why is Albie sleeping?" Because he's on the couch he's like, why is Albie sleeping? Why? Oh no. What did you do? You promised. Tell me I'm not too late. You promised. She said, honey, he's a bad man. He's a kook. I used antifreeze. You said he was a menace, and he is a menace. She's not saying it like she's scared or she's remorseful or anything like that. She's saying it like, look, you said he was all these things and I'm just agreeing with you. He says, you can't go around poisoning everyone that's mean to us, Wanda. Wanda says, he was threatening my family and my baby, and he's out to break you. And I'm sorry, honey, but I was not about to let that happen. I mean, he is a sociopath or a psychopath at the least. She's calling him these things, right? But she's the one who's sitting here poisoning people. The irony of it. She's talking about it like she hasn't committed a crime herself in poisoning this man. So we see him then call his mom Lois to let Lois know the situation. So Lois is like, she did what? Oh no, not again. Is he dead? I said not again. Wait a second. What are we talking about? This is when we find out this is not the first time Wanda has done something like this. And that Lois is aware. So he's like, look, Mom, I need you to come. I need you to help out Wanda. I got to be at this meeting. I'm supposed to be meeting up with Bill. Well, something is bothering my nose, y'all. I'm sorry. Ooh. I'm supposed to be meeting up with Bill. And I got to be in town. And this is when I find out that I was so wrong. Because Wanda is the culprit. Because Wanda poisoned Frank too. I was sitting here this entire time thinking that it was Roman, when it turns out that Wanda was the one spiking either his food or his drinks and whatever else because she didn't like how Frank was treating people. We'll get into it. So Roman is having his meeting where he basically is trying to talk to the people at what it sounds like the mines because they're complaining because the conditions out there are bad. He's like, these people are complaining about getting a bath. It's not a big deal. And the guy's like, not just that, but they want medical benefits as well as the shower. So he's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up replacing all of them. So despite Joey arriving 15 minutes after the meeting started, we see him and Bill outside praying while the meeting is going on. And then they just walk up into the conference room like they're right, the same way Albie walked into Wanda's house like he was right. Roman is agitated, he's pissed, and he's annoyed. And he's trying to find out what they're doing there and telling them to get out and saying that he needs his son. But they refuse. He's telling them they have to leave. And they're like, no, we don't, because we bought Ernest shares. And he's like, Ernest has been excommunicated. And they're like, that doesn't matter. None of that matters because this is going to be the seat for them. The Henriksons are now going to have a seat. He says that he wants the books and he wants to get caught up on things. He's like, no. You don't know whether or not that's your seat. There's a process here, article so-and-so, where we're supposed to be notified X amount of days before, and none of that happened. We haven't been put up to speed about things, and we didn't get anything saying that you all were going to get this seat. Bill's like, I don't care about whether or not they know what's going on. We haven't been put up to speed. You talking about us not being allowed to be here, but I want to be put up to speed. Roman says, you're out of order. We haven't got that information, so the meeting is going to be adjourned. And he tells Joey that he needs to get out to sea. But Joey isn't backing down. Bill, later on we find out, was able to get all of the files as well as the computer, which is what he needed as proof of the things that Roman has been doing. This puts Roman in a hard place. But one thing I've learned in these few episodes of this first season is that Roman is going to find a way to get Bill back every single time Bill has the upper hand, to the point where Bill needs to stop sleeping on Roman and think of all the possible things that can come from him and Roman fight. So Joey later on ends up letting Bill know what Wanda did. This is when he also finds out that Wanda's the one who poisoned Frank. And he's like, how could it have been Wanda? You know, Wanda's the one who called me to tell me that to take him to the hospital and things like that. And Joey says, well, she's the one who called you because she wanted to make sure that you got a chance to see him before he died. So he's like, what are the effects of what you gave him? And she's like, he'll get drunk, he'll pass out, and then it could affect his kidneys. He's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You guys got to take him to the hospital, but make sure you can't be seen. Also, get rid of that truck. Don't let that be seen by the house. Dispose of that as well. So we see later on, he's left in the hospital with a tag that says his name, and it says, drink antifreeze. Bill tells them, no matter who comes by, ask you whatever questions, stick to the story, act like everything is normal, which comes in handy, I guess, later, because at some point we do see that officers are there questioning Wanda. So Roman is still trying to find out where Albie is. They found his truck, but they can't find him. He missed a council meeting, and Roman says he's never missed any of those. He doesn't know what's going on, but something's wrong. So we see him later visit Bill with two men. He tells him that he has to relinquish that seat. He wants to know if he's working with someone, and Bill's like, no, I'm doing all this on my own accord. He tells him, well, you're displeasing. I think he said, I can't remember if he said displeasing God or you're trying to challenge God or something like that. If you're not relinquishing this seat, that Roman will bring his temple crashing down on him. Bill, as usual, thinks that he has the upper hand, kind of calls his bluff, says that you had your hand around my throat for a long time, and now mine is around yours. Basically, I got everything that I need. I have the files, and I could easily make copies of them, send them to the district attorney and to the attorney general and the IRS. Roman very calmly says, I see. He says, where's my son? Where's Albie? Because I know you have something to do with him and him missing. And he acts like he doesn't know anything. He tells him, Roman does, a mad dog lunging and attacking without cause isn't good. And mad dogs must be eradicated. In other words, he's going to get you, Bill. Roman saw this as payback, and he knows for a fact that Bill has something to do with it, and he is going to get him back, and boy does he. We'll get to it. On to Rhonda. Despite Rhonda giving her little digs to Nikki and telling Nikki that she seems irritable, she needs to get some sleep and all those other things, despite her being sneaky and a brat and a thief, I actually found myself feeling bad for Rhonda in this episode. You all tell me how you felt for her. It is so clear to me that she wants more than compound life. She is so young, and she jumped at the thought of Barb asking her what she wanted, saying, did you miss school? Saying, do you want to finish out the school year here? Thinking about how she felt. But Barb shouldn't have opened up that little bit of hope for her, because she so badly wants to live with Barb and the rest of the family. And it's clear that they don't really want her there, the rest of the family. So we know Nikki doesn't like Rhonda. She's always is criticizing what she says, saying that she's a pain and all those other things. When to me, Rhonda and Nikki got some similarities there. So despite Barb promising Rhonda that she'll talk to Bill and Nikki about her staying there with them, I don't recall her saying Marge. Maybe I missed it, but I do not recall that. Staying there with them, she doesn't get a chance to because Adeline, Nikki's mom, arrives to take her back to the compound, and she tells her to come open up the door because she called around and she found out that Rhonda didn't make it to the next level of competition. So she's like, whatever this little vacation is that you thought you were going to have here is over. It's time for you to come back. But Rhonda refuses to come back. She refuses to get into the truck, eventually running down the street instead of getting in the truck. We see her eventually come back. She's talking to Barb and to Adeline. And this is when Barb finds out that she did not get far in the competition. And she tells her that she's going to work on things, but for right now, she has to go back. I did notice that Marge looked like, why were you telling her that she could possibly stay? And we know nothing about it. Okay. It's almost time for the award ceremony, and we see the different preparations that are going on for this. We see the ladies shopping for color to dye certain shoes and for items for Barb. Nikki does not feel like it's a good idea. She feels like her accepting the award is her denying the family. She wants her to pull out. But after all of this, Barb says she wants it and that she kind of needs it. She said, you know, Nikki, I'm a good mom. And I feel like now that I've gotten this far, it's important for me to be seen that way. And for most of the episode, we see Nikki talking about this award situation and how it's going to Barb's head and how she doesn't think it's a good idea and how she's not going to be attending the event. And at some point, she even tries to get Bill to side with her, but he says he can't get in the middle of it. It's something that the wives had to figure out. Once again, something that we've been told over the years about polygamy is that the wives have to figure it out. But we know that there are times where the husbands don't step in, and in my opinion, they should. Where if y'all are so much of a family, it's like sometimes we claim, oh, we're one family. Then other times we claim we're all separate marriages. But they have a way of being, you know, like this. They're intertwined in more ways than I feel like a lot of polygamists are willing to admit. So we see Barb and Marge stitching Barb's outfit together, talking about they hope Nikki hurries up and comes over with the sewing machine. When Nikki walks in and she eavesdrops and she overhears Barb telling Marge that, you know, she doesn't really like the way Nikki dresses, that she sticks out like a sore thumb that says, hey, I'm a polygamist. And she wants to make sure that if Nikki does decide to come to the event, that Nikki doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Nikki and her go through all these things to go to the to go to the ceremony that they later can't even attend. So a paper comes out with the finalists announced, right, for this ceremony. Wendy wants the world to know that the Henriksons are deceiving people and that they are polygamous. But as she's cutting out this paper, we see her crying and wondering if she should out them. We even hear her talk to another employee, not saying what the thing is, but saying like she feels like, you know, certain people have lied about who they are and she feels like it's her duty to come out and say anything. And he's like, well, if it's not affecting you, then it's really not any of your business. And she's like, no, it is my business, because Wendy very much so feels like she has to step in and say something, right? Back at the house, Barb comes down the stairs in her blue suit. She looks nice. Marge comes in her blue dress. She looks nice. And then Nikki comes in, and Nikki has her hair down. She has it curled. She has on a brightly colored dress where all of her arms are out here, and this is down here. She is dressed very differently. She looks nice, and Bill notices it too. He compliments all of the women, but there's a different type of gleam in his eye when he sees Nikki dressed like that because he's not accustomed to seeing it. I really was proud of Nikki for getting dressed up despite how against this whole situation that she has been. I think that she wanted to support Barb in her Mother of the Year ceremony. Despite the hard time that she gives Barb, there is love there, and we see it in different ways. I think that for Nikki, she would just be able, she would love to just be able to be the first wife, to have that where she doesn't have to hide and she can be out and about with her husband. And I think that when we look at this situation, it just reminds you of how hard that has to be for the other women who are married to him when they can't be his number one, because being his number one means that she can go to the function and all those other things. Meanwhile, they have to do things like lie and say they're sisters or neighbors. So all the ladies are standing there ready to attend this event. Barb gives the envelope with the tickets to Bill. He begins to hand them out, and he's like, there's only 4 tickets in here. She's like, there's supposed to be 6. I asked for 6. Well, Barb, when you got the envelope and you signed for it from the delivery service, that's when you should have opened up and counted how many tickets they were. Meaning there's not enough tickets for the wives to go. So she tries to call them, see if she could get it changed. They're like, no, people got to be cleared. All that other stuff is too late. That made me upset for the other woman. The first thing she should have did, as I said, was check that number. And you wasted their time. But at least they got to go out for dinner. So it's ceremony time, and we see the 3 finalists sitting up there on the stage. Wendy walks in. Bill sees her. I know what the show wanted us to think. I think the show wanted us to think that Wendy was about to snitch. But I could tell that Wendy was torn based on the way Wendy was crying and stuff. Why would she be crying that much if that was a situation? I don't think Wendy was prepared to confront them in front of everyone. I think she wanted to have a conversation with them one-on-one. But her crying did surprise me. And her showing up at the ceremony surprised me. Because what do you all think Wendy wanted to do? So we see, wait, because Wendy, I had to have tickets prior because it's a ticketed event. So maybe Wendy originally wanted to be there to support them, and then it turned into something else. Tell me what you think. So we see Roman making his call, and he asks to speak to someone about the evening ceremony. And it becomes clear to me that despite his daughter being married to this man, Roman is willing to do anything to get back at Bill, even if it means having everything attached to Bill crumble. So they get a phone call from Roman where I'm guessing that he basically lets the people know that Barb is a polygamist. So Barb is sitting on the platform, and she's proud, and she's looking down at her family, and Bill's looking at her all amazed by her, and her kids are in awe of her. Because, of course, you see your mom up there and you're proud of her because, wow, mom, you're doing this. You're great. You're a great mom, and you're being awarded for it. And I think that Barb was going to win. I think she was going to win, especially based on the response that she got. So rather than handling this in a discreet manner, we see the guy motion. He's supposedly the husband of the first lady. She goes and talks to him, and he motions for, his wife to come. She said, oh, he has problems with computer issues. Let me go see what he wants. So he tells her something. We don't know what it is. Barb's looking, like what's going on. You see Bill looking like what's going on. They then take Barb off of the platform. They ask her if she's engaged in polygamy. Right off to the side of the stage. This is the stage. These are the people. You can tell she's shocked. You can tell she doesn't know what to say. She's stammering and she's stuttering. And he says, you have to answer the question. Are you a polygamist? And she stutters and she finally says yes. This scene broke my heart. Not just because of Barb, but because of how this affected her kids. So he tells her, you're disqualified, and tells, the first lady, you can say whatever you want to say about her being off of this thing, but just don't tell the truth. You're saying don't tell the truth, but moments later, you tell the truth. So another man proceeds to tell her to follow him. She's like, my family. And he says, let's not make a scene. She wasn't trying to make a scene. You guys were making the scene. You guys are acting like she has something that's contagious, like she's walking around with COVID and she's trying to give it to you when all she's doing is sitting up there trying to accept an award. He walks her out, making a scene, doesn't take her off to the side, walks her out down the aisle full of people. The lady then comes on and she's like, Barbara Hendrickson had to withdraw because of personal reasons. And let's just, congratulate her for making it this far. And they clap. Now, this is what I didn't like about Bill. Rather than following his wife out and checking in on her, rather than saying, come on, kids, let's see what's going on. Let's go to your mom. As the other gentleman who made attention to his wife in the first place comes down, or I don't even know if it's really her husband. That's just what she said. As the other guy who was questioning Barb, asking her questions, comes down, Bill kind of like touches him by the arm and, says, why is my wife being disqualified? He says, that will be a matter for you to discuss with her. He pauses, and your wives. Now, me personally, I probably would have had to be escorted out at that point because I look over and I see Ben has tears in his eyes. Teeny looks distraught, and Sarah looks like she's going to break down as well. Of course, members of the crowd hear it. Bill tells his kids, we're leaving, let's go. And Ben wastes no time to get up, whereas Sarah is still sitting there stunned. Barb is walked out of the premises through the kitchen and dismissed like right by the dumpsters, like she's trash. It is so cold and it is so wrong. And I hate this because I know that far worse has happened to people who think differently than some of us because of stuff like this. It's cruel. Where's the humanity? So while all this is going on, Marge and Nikki are at a Mexican restaurant. They're eating food. They're having a good time. They're discussing where they would be if they weren't married to Bill. Nikki says that she probably would have been married to somebody else from the compound in some type of arranged marriage. That, there was this younger guy who was like 40. Crazy that's considered young. And I'm saying that as a 40-year-old. But she said younger guy like he was way younger. That, he was interested in her. She lets Marge know that she's the one who picked Bill. We then have Sarah call Nikki to let Nikki know what happened. And Nikki looks distraught as she's hearing it. Barb arrives at home and the Mormon neighbors, the guy is standing out on the porch with his arms folded like this, watching them. So I wonder if he knows, if he was watching the ceremony. Bill lets Dawn know that he's sitting, at the table and his head is down and he's all distraught and he's like, we've been exposed. I don't know how bad it's gonna get. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And Ben is seeing this, which has to be scary for Ben. So Ben overhears it, goes to Sarah, lets her know this isn't good. Dawn doesn't feel like it's good for Home Plus. And Sarah's like, it's not good for us. Marge and Nikki enter. And we get another great display of some acting. It's a very heart-wrenching scene, in my opinion, because Nikki runs in and she's closing the blinds and she's drawing the curtains and she's panicking and she's panicking and she's panicking. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on with Nikki? And she's panicking and she runs and she says, they're going to come for us. They can take us. They can burn us down. You can be arrested. You can be taken. You've got to hide. You've got to hide. And she's trembling and she's saying all of this and tears are streaming down her face as she's talking to her husband. And he holds her and he tells her that doesn't happen anymore. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. I said, okay, this is not an act. Nikki really, really believes this. And because of what she's been told, much like Christine, much like Mary, she legitimately feels like she's going to be taken away and that he's going to be taken away and their kids are going to be taken away. And this reminds us of the fear that has been put on other families who have gone through this. We've read the books on this channel. We've heard it firsthand. It's scary. And it was scary for her. They did a great job with the acting. So Nikki and Marge then go upstairs as Barb is sitting on the bed hunched over. It's a side that we often don't think of, in my opinion, when it comes to this faith. Barb looks up at Nikki as Nikki's eyes are filled with tears, and she says, "I got what I deserved." Nikki says, "Oh, boss lady." And then the next thing you know, Barb finally lets it out and you just hear her sobbing and crying. And I could feel it. And I started crying with her because Barb was so hopeful in that moment, and they snatched it away from her and they embarrassed her. But I do appreciate the fact that, as bad as Nikki can be sometimes, Nikki didn't rub it in her face. Nikki didn't say, "I told you so," or any of those things. They were just all there with her in that moment to comfort her. To see them break down like that, Barb and Nikki, it was crushing to me. It broke my heart because I just keep feeling like this is what some of these women actually go through. It made me think of all the women and children who have been bound by this belief system, and as a result have had to live in some very emotionally draining situations, in some harsh conditions. So they have to hide who they are. Albie, we see, is in the hospital as his father has found him, and he looks on outside of the room. Meanwhile, Bill is sitting outside as he looks to the sky by the pool. And that is how this season ended. You all let me know what you thought. If there's anything that I left out that you'd like to discuss, feel free to put it down below. We are on the road to 2K. I may have gotten there by now. I'm not quite sure because I'm filming this on the weekend because I'm taking a break for the holiday, and who knows? But if I'm already at 2,000, that's great. Let's keep the momentum going. For those of you who haven't heard it in the other videos, happy holidays. I hope that this is a good one. I believe this will be out on Christmas Eve. So I hope you guys are playing lots of festive music or doing whatever it is that makes you feel good. Whether that's getting caught up on some sleep, spending some money, surfing the web, allowing the TV to watch you, or you watching the TV, whatever makes you feel good, do it. I love you guys. Until next time.